The trailer for Masters of the Universe Revelation Part 2 is here, and of course it reeks of the old bait and switch that got the fans hooked in the first place back in July when the first part was released. Remember how they were all so secretive about the plot for Part 1 and how everybody was just speculating with the very little information that was available?
Oh, I remember.
Well, they have decided to go all in revealing what the plot for Part 2 will be in this trailer. Apparently, in Part 2, Skeletor, as the most powerful man in the universe, has his own sorceress in Evelyn, who becomes this evil version and changes to a costume that's more revealing than the one that she wore during Part 1. So much for being against the male gaze, right? Now, before we dive deep into this shitefest, let's just point out once again that the animation looks incredible and the character designs are interesting, at least the ones we have seen from this trailer. Needless to say, I was not a fan of those changes in Part 1, like Triclops wearing those ceremonial robes and other dumb shite they got away with, but this Evelyn design doesn't look that bad. The Skelegod doesn't look bad, and even the Savage Human doesn't look bad. But, as I said at the beginning of this video, I can't help feeling this is only more bait and switch. To begin with, we have Teela finally using her power to become the sorceress. I mean, we all knew this was going to happen anyway, right? So there is no surprise there, but what's surprising is that she will use that power to quote-unquote revive Adam and heal the wound inflicted by Skeletor's stabbing. And yeah, that was a pun. What a revelation, right? I mean, it's not like we were not expecting Adam to come back, but who comes to save the day in this case and saves Adam from the death? Teela, of course, because she's the only one capable enough to do it. So, for some part of this show, you can expect this to be the battle of the vaginas, because only Teela can defeat Evelyn, and we don't need any of those pesky men trying to mansplain or win the day for these gals that have it all together, of course. It's also quite interesting that they're spinning it like Adam didn't really need the sword to become human in the first place. The power sword is merely a conduit to tap into the greater power of Grayskull. Something like that happened in the Mike Young production in 2002, of course. There, King Grayskull was looking for a way to stop the evil horde from conquering Eternia. And when he went on a quest to find the power to hold them back and defeat them, it was revealed that the power was always with him and that he only needed his sword and his allies to do it. It's a nice nod to a far better series, and believe me, it is far better. But what makes me wonder a little is the following. The whole quest was for magic to be saved through the forging of the power sword, or more like the reforging of it, because it was the only way to put order back into Eternia and the universe as well. So, I don't know if I got things wrong, or maybe if I'm too dumb to understand, but I got the impression that if the power sword was going to bring magic back into the world, then the power of Grayskull also was a part of said magic. But if Adam doesn't need the power sword to become human, not the human we know, but a human all the same, then he could access magic. And if he had access to magic and everyone knew he had gone to the Eternian afterlife when he died, wasn't it easier for them to just go pick him up so he can access the power and bring it back to the castle? That way fewer people would have died in Part 1. Or are you going to tell me that yes, he could access the power, but he also needed the sword to be there and to exist for him to access that power? Doesn't make any sense. Why do you need a sword for if you don't even really need it to access a certain power? Also, if Adam never needed to use the sword to get the power, why did he use it to become human once he was back in the world of the living? I mean, it's all quite stupid and makes no sense, but I guess you can expect more from these clowns who seem too inept to even check what they had written before, right? And it gets even more ridiculous if you go and read the prequel comic books where Skeletor learns that the only thing that he needs to gain the power of Grayskull is the power sword. So there is need for the power sword, but at the same time there is no need for the power sword. convoluted idiocy. Don't even delve deep into that because it's going to be a disaster. Anyway, the bait and switch bit to me comes from once again the trailer using footage of the same episode. I mean, once again, we have a huge battle outside Castle Grayskull. This time, however, it is He-Man versus Skelegod by the looks of it. In said battle, He-Man, this time the real He-Man we all know and only some seem to love, makes an appearance with a power sword in hand, which also makes one wonder why Skeletor is still in his superpowered incarnation if He-Man has the sword with him. But at this point, and with everything we have mentioned before, who cares, right? Who is even paying attention anymore, right? Let's be honest. Who really cares about this making any sense at this point? It's all just pointless action, and you just need to give these new audiences explosions and great action, and they will clap like overdosed seals with caffeine and speed in their systems, right? So, you have this footage from this battle all divided into different parts inside this trailer, and they all seem to come from the same episode. As for my guesses and predictions, well, I think it's going to have Teela front and center for a long time, one more time. She's going to become the sorceress and defeat Evelyn and bring Adam back for the climax of this story. I guess the scenes of Skeletor attacking the Palace of Eternus and then He-Man getting the sword once more are all from the same episode, maybe the last 2 episodes. But the other 3 to 4 will be all about Teela once again. So, if you pay attention, pretty much the last bit is going to be the important one, and of course the first episode of this Shitefest in part 1 are the only things that you need to watch, and there is nothing that you can do or there is nothing else that you should be watching because the rest of the thing is quite crappy. We will have He-Man back only for the big ending, and that's it. We will have the Savage He-Man, which isn't the He-Man, but a He-Man. And after a bit, we will have the He-Man that we are more familiar with, especially because we have seen how much they have tried to change the characters' looks and even personalities for whatever nefarious reasons they have for that. In any case, that doesn't seem to be that good or interesting, and I really don't want to fall for it. Like they say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And it applies here as well. I mean, are we going to really fall for this shite just because some dumb asshole told us it was going to get better in part 2? Sure, there are a ton of mindless manlets already in line waiting for this crapfest to begin, so they can cheer with their panties all wet at the prospect of seeing T-Man taking center stage, neutering every single male around her, they or them, whatever pronouns they are using right now. But if you have a bit of brains, I guess it's fair to say it's going to be the same thing we got before, and it's better to stand clear from it if we didn't like part 1. So why bother with this? I mean, you have to be wary at this point that this thing is going to be terrible, and I wouldn't blame you, nor would I call you any names if you decide to not go for this thing. And it's quite deserved, because if you are paying attention, they tried to fool you in part 1, and if you get fooled in part 2, that will be entirely on you if you let them do it. They are showing us all the cool stuff in the trailer in order to lure us in. They know what many felt about part 1, and they know also what they did with part 1. They tried to lure everyone in as well, and they don't want to miss the opportunity of doing it again to the fans with part 2. They are petty imbeciles. If He-Man was coming back, if Oracle was coming back, if things were going to play out the way they look to in the trailer for part 2, why split the damn thing in 2? What was achieved by that other than an angry, divided fandom? Again, petty imbeciles. Those woke retards will go on saying how we hate the show because we don't like Teela and never have, when in fact it is thanks to Teela being so popular, amongst other reasons too, of course, that we got She-Ra. But of course, they need to find an excuse to go against people who don't like this shite and call them every damn name under the sun. If I were to provide advice on how to proceed, I'd say it's better to stay away from this. like I did with part 1. If I get leaks or any information about this thing before it drops on Netflix, I'll let you know in advance and warn you, so you don't have to waste your time and avoid the frustration that you might get after watching this. Of course, I will not be watching this. I want to stay away from this as much as I can, and any information that I will provide will come from leaks or any other sources that I may find along the way. As always, everything I have said here is only my opinion, and now I want to know yours, so let me know down below in the comments what you think about this trailer, and if you have watched it or want to watch it, and what you think about it. Also, let me know if you are excited for part 2 and want to watch it, or if you've had enough and don't want to support this project anymore. I know that I don't want to, and I know that I won't. That is a fact, and that is for sure. So, it's time for you to let us know what you think down below in the comments. Until next time, everyone, peace out.